Welcome to Gerald Johan van der Waals educational channel. Today I will talk again about the sound in form method. It is a method with which you understand words or words with a capital, meaning that this book is also one of maybe the largest book ever written about the meaning of sounds, of vowels and consonants, and all the methods that I found are in there, and I have my own method also that proves that words have the same meaning everywhere, even if it doesn't seem so. So there's a method with which to learn to understand it, learn to change them into forms and analyze them. I will give a demonstration today which is a little bit more technical, but which you can understand intuitively as well. I will explain both ways that are possible with following the knowledge or even making it a bit more intuitively. And I will also say how you can use the book to make you understand how to do this. And I'll make an example based upon a word that I already explained before. In my last video I already explained the word boom, the Dutch word for tree. So if I combine some of these drawings together, it will be a little bit more complicated drawing. It almost looks like a Christmas tree instead of a normal tree, but that's almost the way what the structure of the letters will do by combining them. So I will explain again once more what is to be found in there, what the letters will do by combining them. The B in there is in the middle. It will give some variations of expansion, slightly breaking apart of the edges, at the border, and this will break apart the form a little bit from the start. This will lead to the forms that will spread itself into a lot of regions. And these regions are also connected with the two O's. The O's are always connected with processes. Instead, in this case, there are two processes that are happening at the same time, and its variations of breaking apart are you can find over several partial areas which fill in to each other. That's more or less what is happening from B to O, and it will happen in a larger volume or certain outer spaces that spread its breaking apart into several not pieces but in several variations. The M, on the other hand, will fill it in with as much variations as possible that are that you can find there. So that's more or less the word boom or tree as a Dutch word. And I compared it also with the tree word in English. Now I will explain a little bit more. There are also a different method which will focus upon the dimensions or the numbers that are underneath every letter. And you can, thanks to this underlying structure, you will know how much effect the letters will have on other letters and what will be the most dominant factor there. So in the B, this is a two-dimensional form always, even if it translates itself to 3D. It means that the form that starts there you can resume into two dimensions. It's just a form goes into the volume, into a certain flat area, and that's even the same thing if you turn it into if you will show it into a three-dimensional form. It will be the same form actually. So there will be no variations from two dimensions to three dimensions, like in a tree is more or less in this word as it expresses. You will find it as well. The middle is something else. Is the outside is volume that is structured even into a three-dimensional world. It doesn't matter. This is connected with two also an ongoing process, which is two processes that influence each other, and it's an ongoing process. It's a complete structure in in a full process. And it ends at the edges in a sort of mass that is still changing over time. So the edges of the tree will also change a bit over time, and it will be dominated by the ongoing process that goes before that, and the starting point is the breaking apart, like breaking apart from the nut in the beginning that will form an oak at the end. The tree is a completely different word, so it's the structure is completely different as well. It starts from a one-dimensional vision of the same thing. So the T is always connected with one dimension, like a point, and from that point there's an extension. This extension is like a fracture, and it will turn into a fractal. Also, this fractal is it gets yourself into a two-dimensional form, but also actually it's only just a very simple breaking apart. In this case, one-dimensional breaking apart which will spread itself into 2 dimensions or even 3 dimensions, but into the same form again, without variations into the higher dimensions, because the essence lies underneath and it's very simple. After that, that's something else. After that point, this will connect itself to certain time frames in space. That's the R. The R is connected with this. And this is a quite complicated concept, but I will explain it very simple today, and that you will grasp on one of the more complicated letters. So the more the higher the numbers that are underneath the letters, the more complicated they are. So the R is at the end of the cycle, so it will be a bit more complicated, but still you can understand it in a very simple way, and I will explain that to you. The E will always be like broadening extensions. So this R, which is turning into a kind of spiral, there's a reason why this spiral is there, I will explain that later, is still visible in these E's. And the broadening extensions will do the same. They will take over the turning around and will spread itself further. So that's basically the tree. It's more like a kind of fractal. The 3 letters that are in there is of course the T, the distinctive distant point of reference, I will call it, so you know where it starts from, where you can connect it. The R is of course I can't read it anymore here. Yeah. Okay, it is spiraling itself into the process, and the E's are the complete volume that is broadening and enlarging itself from there. So the method that you can use in the book, there's a scheme in there, and there are 3 parts in the scheme where every time 9 letters are there. So the first 9 letters, they are all connected and are starting from the center. So if you look up the scheme and you say, okay, I want to know exactly where this lies and where I have to start the T, okay, you can just open the schedule and you get there. It's in the center. Okay, where it is in the center? Oh, on the vertical part. Okay, so in top you see that already. It's there in the vertical part somewhere, but it has a center of its own. So a bit more in detail it is, like then you have to read it like the first part of 9 letters. It is in the horizontal plane or in the center plane. It's the same. The horizontal and center are always connected with each other a little bit, but it's also on a vertical region. So it's the vertical region on a horizontal plane within the center in 1 dimension. That's the T. That's actually the formula how you can start at the T and where you have to start from. So it's a little bit more in detail underneath, but the top one is good as well. It's just a certain distinction. You can see the distinction on top there, and if you really want to see like, yeah, where exactly is it, you can go a little bit more into detail in the second example. That's the T. So I will go now to the word tree. The second letter is the most complicated one, the R. But I will go first to the E. I will explain the E, which is, it's pronounced A normally. You can see here an example of the A. So it's in 5 regions, and these 5 regions have extensions. So they can be extended, they are potentially extended. The number 5 always says it's a phase-based change. So at some point it can be an extension, another point it doesn't. So that's more or less what it is. So there's a potential of extensions of material in its volume. Where is it in the scheme? It's on the second part, the volume part. So in the volume part, where in the horizontal plane you will find it. It's the second part, so it's also connected with the, so the vertical part will be there as well, but that's something that I will not explain here now, but it is, so I resume it in this way. It's on the horizontal plane with the differences based upon the descending levels with its volume in 5 dimensions. 5 dimensions is nothing else than a structure which evolves over time and which sees its visual aspects differently in each phase. So, but you can follow it in each phase. It changes in each phase, and it has some variations. But basically, the E is broadening itself, and it is comparable to an electron. It's not the spaces that will increase like with the O, but it are actually the real elements that are in there that will increase. With an electron, it can be compared because there, okay, so the energy on the outer cycle, I will say, yeah, they can increase. There can be more electrons added. It can be compared a little bit with that. It's more comparable to energy than to the material world, even if it is filled in. But okay, that's one of the examples that you can understand it a little bit. The E. And then the last scheme is the R, so that's the most complicated. So that's the third part of the scheme. And the third part is all about the edges, the periphery, and the R is on the vertical plane. So it's on the edge of the events. So it's a volume, but at the edges, so at the periphery in the vertical plane. I explain it there with some variations, but underneath you can see how it turns into a spiral. So if I follow the full formula with the double vertical followed by a horizontal plane on the edges, and I will finalize the form, I will get a kind of spiral in the end, and that's the essence of the R. It's just a structural foundation underneath. It's only a proof that it fits and it works with it. You don't have to learn it exactly. You can also learn it intuitively. So a kind of spiral is already a good idea to remember it. It's not just a spiral, it is also connected with a lot of things. So I will explain that what it is. But I have here the form in the middle. The form in the middle is it's one of the designs I made for Ra, the life giver. If you remember, if you go from left to right, it is the life giver and the life taker that will consume time and puts it with Horus as well. It will consume time or space and will transform it into life or death situations. The R, on the other hand, it goes from left to right. You can see it looks a bit like the ears of the corn, and in Dutch it is are. It is the other way around. It is not the life-giving aspect, but it is the result of it. So it's not a life giver like the sun gives it to the grains. Now in this time it's the grains that give the food from the other way around. So the R is the other way around. So there you can remember more or less what is happening there. We don't need that image now, but we will start from on the top right, that scheme which explains the R place there, and it is also connected with, in this time, the 8th level or the 8th dimensions as a reference. How do you understand that in normal language, in normal ideas? It means that it is connected with four dimensions in two directions, and it comes back to it turns back to the space where the things are formed. It sounds complicated, but it is. I can explain it a bit more easy. So everything with an R takes its time to develop. That's the first time thing, and then it depends as well on the time schedule. So it takes time to develop, that you can understand. It also depends on a certain time schedule before it is in a full shape, and this mostly results that it has certain effects over time, or it takes its effects or shows its effects of changing certain patterns in time into a real form, and that's where the R is connected with. So the R, so the two time frames on the space frame you can see there. Then I will look for the next letter, so that the T, the R and the E, the T underneath you can see, so there will be the connection point for the T to connect with the R. So the R has to be a kind of formation at the edges, and it has to form the E. The E is a direction in the broadening sense, but it's pronounced like an I, so it has to come to a region that has its own space disconnected from the first space, and that is already seen there. But because I emphasize there the space there a lot. It's not the emphasis is not on the E, it's more on the O, so I can pronounce that as treo. It doesn't exist, treo, but that's more like it. So I have to look further. This is an experiment. Let's experiment a little bit and understand then what the difference in the letters is. Everybody can understand that this letter at the left in gray is looks more like the O. It is actually also the O, like the square underneath is more like the E. It also looks more like the E. So what has to be done? The R has to be respected as well. The R is always on the edges. So I will try again. I try again. So I have the word try there as well. So I will connect. I will multiply it a little bit. The tre, and with the R a little bit more. So the edges a little bit more. So I will come to 3 different regions, as you can see. But because these regions are very apart, it more looks these are also separating a little bit. So it fits very well with finding another region, searching for another region, just like the I in the try. The letter is about. This fits also with the trying. So we are trying to find a way. We're trying to find a space which fits, and I still don't find the meaning at this point, but it fits to the word try. We'll continue and we'll make it look more like tre and tree. Tre like it is written, tre, and tree like it is pronounced. So we have already the try with the edges that are respected, but it has to look more like tre, the tre. We will start with how it is written. The tre. Tre is the direction to the left. Here that is much better. This in the middle, it looks perfectly like tre. The R, I will even emphasize it a lot more, so the circling around the S, so the tre. I can here, I look here, look in here, you can see it already a little bit better. Funny enough, the tre looks a little bit like a Dutch word. Someone told me that no, this is like trede. Oh yes, indeed, and it also looks like that. Trede is the steps, or taking steps on a stairway. That's a trede. Trede is one of the steps on a stairway. So you can almost understand it because the tre is there, and the de, or the movement from one point to the other, or the from the bridging from one horizontal to the next horizontal, it is actually also the meaning of the letter D. So the tre de, and the is then the essence of what is happening there. It not only refers to one of the steps, it also refers to the stepping itself. So the treden, you can in Dutch you have toetreden, so you will go to somewhere else, to a next level, to the next level. Yes, indeed, treden. So you have already tre. So let's emphasize also that that with the R it has to go actually in. It's because it's in a dimension. It goes in two directions. It's not only growing. It also has a different process. It has the counter effect where it has to deal with. So it's in two directions, in time and space. So the re, I will, as you can see there, I will go down as well and go up as well. So it will go in two directions. If I will circle the regions that I found there are three regions, then I will have the image underneath there. The three regions are visible there. It's not, it still doesn't look like three, but it actually looks like more like O's, again, the circles, the O's. And the three regions that you have there, or for several regions. But the three dominant regions, if you really see that, it fits with the word trio, which are interconnected circles. Trio. It fits. Accidentally, I didn't mean it, but it fits. So if I use the variations a little bit, it almost is looking a little bit like boom as well. That's what you can see in the last one. So we have tre. Okay, let's make the circle the two directions of the spiral, so up and down, and in the direction of the left, and then it's I can express it a little bit like the tre in the second drawing, tre with an emphasis on the a sound, so it's all directed in one direction. But it's pronounced like I, so it's tri. If I only design it with the I, I have only the three regions, with a focus on the three regions. It's not enough, so I have to make a combination of tre, and tri. And that's more or less like I have in this next drawing. But because it's also circling around, it's also a spiral, I have to make some variations of it in direction, which I have in the last one. So what I have as resume, so I have a spiraling around three regions in the tree, and the form itself, okay, it looks already a little like a tree. Let's see, say it's a little bit coincidental if you would like to see, but it fits. But the tree, as you can see underneath, that one, how we can see a tree, this one fits actually quite well with what we are doing there. I could have changed the basis of the tree more into a large leaf. That would be maybe even a bit better, but it's too late for that. So this is a tree which is multiplying in several directions. The boom, on the other hand, it's a different word, but it's more focused on the visible expansion of the full volume. That's more or less what you can feel in the word boom, like the tree is more from the center, and the variations what you have there. The leaves even fit to that, the branches fit to that, the basis of the tree maybe a little bit less, but in the fractal you have that as well. The first fractal is more thick and more dominant, and so it can still be made technical if you would make a computer design with a word. I hope some people will do that, so someday you will get more or less that form with tree and that form with boom. Thanks for watching again. You will not find this in my Sounding Form book, but I gave an example of how you can work with it. The website is still there, Gerald. What is that in English? JohanVanWaas.org. or it's on Trafford. There you can find the book. As I can say, it's a book of over 600 pages. So you can, if you ever want to read it, you're busy with it for the rest of your life. Thanks for watching. Check the website out. Subscribe to my YouTube channel because I will give lots of examples in future as well where you can learn, and I'm open to suggestions or questions. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.